To the video tutorial for the October sweater. First I just wanted to show you the sweater and introduce you to the construction of it. So this is how it looks. It's a nice v-neck both here in the front and the same in the back. Quite straightforward. It has a small ribbing here and made like the whole sweater is made in kind of a ribbing stitch. We will start with making the body piece, the front and the back. It's worked in one section. In the middle we'll split for the neck, but otherwise quite just working rows back and forth. Then we will seam the sides. And I left mine open here, but you can choose to close it if you want. I like that it gives a bit more room for the hips and currently for my stomach. And then we will make the sleeves straight on the sweater. So we will work the sleeves in the round straight on the sweater. Yeah, but let's get started. So let's start with what you'll need. So you'll need a 6mm or J crochet hook. A darning needle to weave in ends and seam the sides, measuring tape, scissors, and then the yarn for the pattern. I've used this Diablo multi from Hobby. This I got for one of the patterns in my book, so I used the leftovers now. Hobby sponsored this yarn for the book, so I'll use that. They recommend a 9mm hook for this yarn, so that would be a bulky yarn, but I'm using a 6mm hook, so I would say that it's more like a heavier Arano worsted yarn. So you can try, if you're not using this yarn, you could try with a heavier Arano worsted, like for example, I would say maybe Woolies from Lion Brand or something similar like that. Yeah, so let's get started. The pattern will be using US terminology, and you can find all the info about sizes and what you'll need on my blog at coffeeandcrocheting.com. You'll find the link in the description below. So I'll make mine in size medium. But let's get started. I will make my, this sweater will be made on the side, so the starting chains will be the length of the sweater. So if you want to adjust the length of the sweater, you'll need to do that by just making more or less chains, but you need to adjust it already from the beginning. I'll have detailed instructions on how to do that in the pattern. I will make mine extra long, so that will be reflected in the number of chains I'll make. I'll probably make it around 2 cm or 1 inch longer. Then I'll write for the final pattern for size M. So I'm making a medium size sweater. You find all the sizes in the blog posts. So let's just get some yarn. I'll also start with a long tail here on the side, so I have something to seam the sides. So I take a long, and then I start with my loop here in the middle. So to begin your chains, I'll make a loop like this, insert my fingers, and pull up a loop, and pulling on the other sides. Insert the hook and pull tight. And now we'll begin with our chains. So to chain, you yarn over and pull through the loop. Yarn over, pull through the loop. So I'll make 151 chains. And then we'll just chain 1 and turn. Yeah, and we'll move up our stitch marker. So we'll put it here. We're ready to begin row 2. So for row 2 and the rest of the rows in the pattern, except for at least for the body, we will now work in the back bumps. So let's find the back bumps. So when we look on top of the garment, or like the rows like this, we have our V here, the V there. So this is the front loop and that's the back loop. So we'll just go under the back loops now. And now when we're in the beginning of the row, we'll make single crochet. So we insert the hook in the back bump, so that's, or a back loop. So that's only that one in the back. Yarn over, pull up a loop, pull through 2. Then in the back loop, and then continue like that. I will make that for all the stitches of the row. So now we make it for our single crochets. These are our ribbing of the sweater. And here's the 8th. And now when we made 8, we make our half double crochet. So they will also be in the back loop. So we yarn over, insert a hook in the back loop, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through all 3 loops of the hook. And then just continue like that. All the way across until we reach our second stitch marker. There we'll again just make single crochet for the final 8 stitches of the row. So this row 2, we will just be working in the back loop. First 8 stitches single crochet in the back loop, then half double crochet in the back loop until we reach our second stitch marker, and then the final 8 stitches of the row, single crochet in the back loop. And this row 2 we will now repeat for many rows. For size, the size I'm making, the medium, we will repeat it until we made a total of 21 rows. So let's make the total of 21 rows and meet you back. So I've now made 21 rows, and it's for size M. And I will put a stitch marker in the 40, I put it in the 47th stitch from each edge. Check the pattern for where you need to put it. But yeah, so that's 47 stitches from this edge. And then 47 stitches from this edge we have the second stitch marker. So it's one here in each edge. And we'll now crochet until the first stitch marker like normal, and then also in the final stitch marker, or in the stitch marker, in the stitch with stitch marker. So let's do that. Now we have our chains. Make sure not to twist them, and then find your second stitch marker and then make your stitch in that. So you make a half double crochet in the stitch with the stitch mark, and then just continue the row after the stitch mark like you normally would. So then just continue with your half double crochet and then your single crochets in the end. So this will be, we've now made the chains for the neck opening, so this will be the neck opening. If you know that you make tight chains, then I recommend that you use a larger hook size for the chains. I tried to just make extra loose chains, but that's your own preference. That if you know you make tight, I would recommend to just use a larger hook size, 1 or 2 size larger. So when you reach the chains again on row 23, then you just simply crochet in them as you would normally. So all the way across the chains. I try to go through the back bumps here. It's a bit trickier because they're kind of on the wrong side, but it makes for a neat edge. So just continue crocheting across them, and then when you've reached the end of the chains here, you simply just continue crocheting in this row, and then you just continue to make this as wide as the first side, so as many rows as you did on the first side. And now we're ready to seam it and make sleeves. So we have now crocheted our full piece and folded it in half. So we have the full length, and then just fold it in half. And after that we'll put a stitch marker in. For my size, we'll put it in the 48th stitch from each edge. So one is here and one is here. And then we'll start to seam the side from here. You can either start to seam right from here. I left the yarn there in the end. After completing the final row, I just pulled a long tail to have for seaming. So you can either start to seam from here and then continue all the way to the stitch markers, or do like I'll do. So I'll start from the 15th stitch to leave a bit of space here for the hip. So then I just simply thread the yarn on the inside, making sure so that it's not going out on this side, but just on the inside. And then pulling, not too tight, so I always pull backwards so it's not tight. Let's count. And there's our 15th. So I'm pulling back so it's not tight. And then count 15 stitches on this edge. There's our 15th, and then I'll start to seam from that side, and I will seam using the mattress stitch, but you can also use, for example, the whip stitch. I just like how the mattress stitch looks on this garment. So then I go from the inside on both of the loops like this, and now I can show you up here. So I go from the inside under both of the loops. And then again. And then just continue like that all the way up to the stitch markers. I'll show you the seam. So this will look like that, so it's quite, you can't see it that much, which I prefer. So then just continue all the way up to the stitch markers. When you reach the stitch markers, I'll show you. I prepared on the other side already, so I've seamed this all the way. So when you reach the stitch markers, I usually do like that. I've made a final seam in the stitch markers, and now when I have my yarn on that side, I then again go through from this side and all the way to the other side from above. That gives a thread here, and on the underside where I can then put the stitches for the sleeve. I usually do 2 of this, so it's a strong seam there, like that. So, and then I simply just take it in on the inside to weave it in later on to make the sleeve. Make a slip notch and attach a new yarn. Have your garment ready. Here you made a kind of extra stitch, so I'll insert the hook under that. Make sure to go through on both sides, and then attach with the slip knot, so I yarn over and pull through all the way across. And then I hide my knot on the inside, and then I chain 1. And then here in the same stitch for my size, I will make a half double crochet. For some sizes you won't make a half double crochet in the same stitch. If you have an even number you shouldn't, if you have an uneven number then you should. And then I'll just continue to crochet a half double crochet in the back loop all the way around. So then I'll close the round by inserting the hook here in the first stitch. Yarn over, pull up a loop and pull through the loop on the hook, so that's a slip stitch, and then chain 1 and turn. And then for the next round it's important that you make the first stitch in the actual first stitch, so that would be this one, and that's in the back loop as well. That stitch is always a bit tricky because it's a bit tighter than that. And then continue around. And we will repeat this type of rounds until it's time to make the ribbing. When you're in the end of the row and want to join again, this stitch should not be crochet it in, because that will increase the stitches. So that's the final one. You can see that this stitch is attached to this one, so there you shouldn't crochet. But if you just continue to always count in then so that you aren't increasing, then you should be fine. But if you don't like to count, then just make sure to not crochet in that stitch in then. So the sleeve is now at a good length to continue with the ribbing. I think I made around 26 rows before the ribbing. The ribbing will add something like 6 to 7 centimeters, so make your sleeve to the length you prefer, minus 6 to 7 centimeters. Before we make the ribbing, we will decrease this section so that it's tighter, because we want this to be a balloon sleeve. I already made a row where I made every second stitch as a HTC2 together, so half double crochet 2 together. And I'll make the same for now for next row. If you feel that gets too tight, you can make first two normal half double crochet, or in the back loop as we do in this sweater, of course, and then 2 together. So it's good to try a bit to see what's good for you. But yeah, let's start making our half double crochet. So I start with first one normal half double crochet in the back loop, and then half double crochet 2 together, so I yarn over, insert my hook in this back loop, pull up a loop, so I now have 3, yarn over, insert the hook in the next back loop, pull up a loop, so I have 5 loops, and then yarn over and pull through all loops on the hook. So that's our half double crochet 2 together. And I'll make every second stitch like that all the way around. So a half double crochet 2 together. If you feel you want it even tighter, you can either make so I made 2 rows like this, but you can make 3 or 4, or you can make every stitch half double crochet 2 together. But I find that when you make every stitch half double crochet 2 together, it might look like it's a bit of holes in between, so I usually prefer to make every second to kind of fill up the gaps. There's our final stitch. That was a normal half double crochet. And then I insert the hook in the first stitch of the round, yarn over, and slip stitch. So now I think this is good. I usually try to insert or you can try it on, or I insert my hand like this to see how it looks. It's still a bit big, but the ribbing will tighten it a bit further, so I think I'll go with this. So to make the ribbing, we will chain 11, so I make 11 chains. 1, 2, 3, the back bump of the second chain from the hook, you make a single crochet. So we work in the back bump in the same way as we did on our very first starting chain. And make a single crochet. And then continue all the way across, so you have 10 single crochet. And then we just pull through on the final stitch. And this is our edge. Then we repeat that on the other side. And if you want, you can also repeat it here in the neckline. So that was the video tutorial for the October sweater. I really hope you enjoy your sweater, and thank you for watching.